We're unmuted now. Can folks hear? All right. We'll go.
All right.
Here we are. We're ready.
Okay. So I guess I give the announcements now. Okay. As I was saying, we have field trips most weekends this month, including one to Hilltop Needmore and one to Bass Lake. The website for that is https www.meetup.com/wake-audubon-meetup and Wake Audubon and Meetup. First letters are capitalized. In addition to the those field trips through Meetup, we also have a birdability event on Saturday the 13th at 8 a.m. at the North Carolina Museum of Art. We've got a beginning birding workshop on Saturday the 27th at Wilkerson Nature Preserve. Okay. So those are our field trips this month. The Wake Audubon now has a partnership with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI. Okay. There's going to be, in October, there's going to be an LGBTQ plus beginners birding workshop. Okay. It's Chimney Swift roost season or migration season, so we're going to have some events for to watch chimney swifts. Some of them are going to include food and drinks. There's on September 17th at 5:45 p.m. Meet at the Wellard Rooftop Bar and Lounge. John Gerwin's going to give a presentation, and then when he finishes, everybody will go up to watch. Need to RSVP to Meetup for that same Meetup site I mentioned before. On September 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. At the Transfer Food Company Hall. There's going to be another Swift event, but in this case, you need to RSVP to John Connors. His email is jconnorsbird@gmail.com. Okay. Another event that's going on in Cary, Douglas Tallamy will be speaking about Homegrown National Park, which is not a new national park. It's an effort to make your own backyard into wildlife habitat. So he'll be at the Cary Environmental Symposium on Friday, September 19th from 7 to 9 p.m. This is going to be held at Cary Theater. Okay. Some other things to mention, leave your leaves. Let's see here. Instead of getting one of those nasty, smelly, noisy leaf blowers out and have to get rid of your leaves, we're trying to encourage everybody to leave as many leaves as you can in your yard. They have numerous benefits. If you like to see lightning bugs during the summer, that's one of them. You need those leaves, but a lot of birds forage in leaves too. Most of you have seen the white-throated sparrow or towhee doing the double scratch before. There's a lot of invertebrates that live under the leaves. Okay, so it's also a good way to preserve a lot of plant nutrients on your yard, and saves you time and energy and saves your ears with those darn leaf blowers. So you probably noticed I'm not too fond of leaf blowers. Even the electric powered ones are too noisy for me. Okay, lights out now through November 30th. We encourage everybody to turn off your lights and close the blinds when you go to bed. So we don't want birds hitting windows. And most of the most of the smaller birds migrate during the nighttime. So we have 12 lights out signs that are available, and is Missy there? Yeah, they're right back there. Still got 12 of them, or some disappear already. Okay. Missy also has 3 copies of a book called Wasteland of Wonder by Basil Camus. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're holding our fall plant sale. It's through Field Cottage Nursery. Okay. Starting on September 15th, you can get the reduced rate for Wake Audubon members. And it's www.fieldtocottage.com. And for Field to Cottage, you have to arrange to pick up your plants by appointment, and she'll just set your plants out for you with your name on them. Okay. All right, a few other things. We have, Larry? I don't know. I don't think I saw.
I thought it was our woodpecker.
Yeah. I didn't notice it when I was looking at what Dave sent me. Maybe I overlooked it. I don't know. Yeah, Audubon, Wake Audubon gets a cut of that if they have the right code. Okay. Anything else about the plant sale? No. All right.
Yeah, it's fall migration 25.
Fall migration 25.
Fall migration 5.
Anything capitalized? Okay. Well, computers are picky. So, yeah. Okay. So fall migration 25, one word with the F capitalized. Okay. Okay, next announcement. We could probably use some more board members now. We got a few other things we could use volunteers for as well. Okay. We're an all volunteer organization, and so we rely on volunteers to do everything that we do. And this year we have the smallest board since I can remember. I've been here for how long? Almost 20 years, 18 or so. So yeah, we're kind of getting down to bare bones on that. You don't need any experience to serve on the board. All you need is just interest in our mission and trying to help us meet our goals. So yeah, if you have an interest to see me or one of the other current board members. How many board members we have here today? Let's see. All right. So and other volunteer needs we have. We need a conservation chair. Since our previous conservation chair had to step down for health reasons. We need a lights out subcommittee chair. Okay. Since our previous chair moved out of town. And we need some volunteers for the advocacy committee. Okay. So, all right. So finally, who's here for the first time tonight? Okay, I've got a couple of first timers. Okay, for first timers, our chapter will pay for your first year of Audubon membership. So you can see Jerry is right here, and she'll help you set that up. So just talk to her after the presentation tonight. Okay. Any other announcements? Yes, Larry, or not Larry, Jeff.
Coming up at the museum September 20th, Saturday. It's the museum's biggest event all day. From 10 to 5 and then the evening at 7. So both buildings are outside.
Yeah, what day is it, Jeff?
It's September 20th.
Okay, so Bug Fest is Saturday, September the 20th. You couldn't hear that on Zoom.
Several of us.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Centipede Millipede. Anybody wants to help with that?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, here at the Museum of Natural History. Okay. Okay. I was wondering what those millipedes that get in our yard that smell like cherry cough syrup are.
They're resistant to Aphiloria or Sigma.
Aphiloria or Sigma. Yeah, yeah. I see. Hydrogen cyanide. Yeah. Smells good though. Yeah. All right. Any other announcements? If not, let me turn it over to John Gerwin to introduce our speaker tonight.
Well, it's proven. Missy asked me to say a few words about some birds that have a relationship with snails. I'm going to do that first. I think everybody knows who I am. I'm the research curator of birds here at the Museum of Natural Sciences. I'm going to dim the lights and then fire up my. Does that work? That's working. Doesn't always work. Well, all right. There's been a little bit of a change to distribution and behavior of a couple of birds that relates to snails and south of here. I'm just going to go over that real quick. So one is a limpkin, and really I'm just kind of reading some factoids off for you. The name of the bird, interesting. So it's the way it walks is a little funny. So people say it looks like it's limping, and of course kin is like kinship. So it resembles a limp. The Guaran, I can't say it. Guarani word is a Brazilian, tupi Brazilian, it's a marsh bird. So if you've seen a limpkin anywhere, you've seen it near water. If you've seen Harry Potter, you probably heard one then, because that was the crying, the sound of the, what is that, a hippogriff? I did not see Harry Potter, I have to confess, but the bird's bill is adapted for eating the apple snails. So one of the couple of species of, well, there are probably multiple, but I'm thinking of the couple of the non-native snails in Florida that is the apple snail. So when the bill is closed, there's a bit of a gap behind the tip, which helps the bird to hold on and manipulate the animal to eat it. And then some of them have a right-hand curve. Crossbills have their right-billed crossbills and left-billed crossbills, and they will perch on upside down on a spruce cone or pine cone, and that determines which way they face in order to get into the scales of a cone. And I guess the limpkins, it's a similar situation. I couldn't help that. Missy said, "Oh, I got a couple of good shots." Yeah, and she did. And then I have mine. I'm like, oh man. But they do. They will eat a variety of things: snails and mussels and frogs, tadpole. But they also really like to feed on the apple snail. And the limpkin is primarily a nocturnal feeder. And the native snails in Florida are smaller than the apple snail. So that's a topic we'll come back to. And then this article came out in the fall of 2024. So Scott wrote this nice article about that limpkins were all of a sudden being reported all over the place. And the people thought, well, it's probably due to the this non-native snail, the increase in numbers of the snail. And then here's a range map showing you the historic range. On the left is the limpkin. So you can see that the darker green is the historic range. And then as you get lighter and lighter in color, the bird is being seen in more and more places further and further away from the south. So all of a sudden it's showing up in some pretty far-flung places. The little map on the lower right shows you the island apple snail distribution in Florida and the Gulf Coast. And then there's this other snail, they call it the Chinese mystery snail. Perhaps Art can talk about it. That has distribution further north, and interesting, the limpkin seems to be almost tracking it. Nobody knows for sure, but that's an interesting look. Here's just
Hey, John.
text.
Could you put the presentation up?
Oh, it is up. Is
For
it not
Zoom.
up? Is it not showing?
Nope.
Hang on. So we have another technological glitch. All right. Not really sure what to make it. Oh, I know why. Hang on here. You got to turn on sharing. That's what. There we go. All right. Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm not going to let people not see Missy's beautiful photo. They have to see it. There's what I was talking about at first, just so you can see that lovely photograph. And there's another one. That when I was talking about the bird's bill, the bill tip, there's one. There's a limpkin holding on to one of the snails. I don't know which snail, but a tasty one all the same, I'm sure. All right, and my not so great shop down in Nicaragua. All right, so I was moving on. It's just saying that this is when Scott wrote this article. A lot of people were reporting limpkins from all over, and so the map there on your left, the historic range is the dark green, and then the lighter green is the bird showing up further and further north. In 2023, birds were seen up in Canada. So in the early 1900s, Arthur Bent, who wrote the book, or that series of books on the birds of North America, is saying that the flesh of limpkin is much esteemed. So apparently people shot and ate them, and that they had practically disappeared from all regions within easy reach of civilization. In 1932, the Florida wildlife folks stated that they were pretty scarce. So I mentioned there are some other different prey items that they will consume, but then as the island apple snails increase, so did the number of limpkin. Yeah?
Can you squeeze that?
Oh, yeah.
That's blocking the content of the wall?
Oops, sorry about that. No, where did it go? Give me back my screen. What happened? I don't want to. I'm already sharing, but let me see if I can bring it back up again. Oh,
Okay.
where did it go? Oh, there it is right there, but then this one I can hide this all the way. Like where? Huh. Get that out of there. No,
Minimize. There you go. There you go.
that thing is supposed. Wow. All right, there we go. We had to hide that. And so the eBird data showing that the limpkin increased by more than 50% in a 10-year period. That's quite a bit. So one consideration is that the limpkins will also eat freshwater mussels, and those are some of the most endangered organisms, which, you know, Art can tell you about. So sort of a good news, bad news. We're trying to conserve more of these freshwater mollusks and snails and things, and then we have something eating on them. Page down, and now it doesn't want to go. Wow. I don't know what's going on tonight. Oh. Now the screen doesn't want to go. Look at that. I don't know what happened, but it worked. Went the wrong way, but. All right, so that's a limpkin. We'll just go to snail kite. So there's a snail kite for you. Neither Missy or I had photos, so I grabbed some off the internet. There's an adult male. So this is the range of the snail kite. They're considered endangered in Florida. They occur all the way through South America, so they're much more common. And but they also have been reported more frequently lately. They're in a similar environment and a similar diet as the limpkin, and they will also consume the invasive island apple snail. In 2008, the thing to note is that the Florida population was down to about 800 individuals. So a little factoid is that the island apple snail is large compared to the native snail. At first, the kites had difficulty handling that island apple snail, but during a short 10-year period, there were clearly some intensive natural selection led to birds with longer legs, heavier legs, larger body mass, a robust beak, and then they began to be able to manipulate and feed on the island apple snail. And the population of the kites now exploded. It went from 800 to almost 3,000 birds in the census from 2023. The bird on the lower right is what the immature, the females look like. So you can see here on the map, some of the kites are being seen in North Carolina, Virginia, up into New York. I think there was a bird seen just south of Toronto, one of those purple squares up there. So again, like the limpkin, the birds have started expanding. One of the biologists has said that he thinks they could potentially expand the range somewhat more, but he doesn't think it'll be to the extent that the limpkins have, and because time will tell. And that's really all. There's a picture of some of the eggs and adults of the apple snail. That's that. So I'm now going to introduce the main speaker. I've got some notes I've made. They may not be the truth, but they are notes. So it's always nice to be able to introduce another colleague here. So Art Bogan is the research curator of malacology here. His focus is on freshwater bivalves, mollusks. So he's been here at the museum now 29 years. So a pretty long time. And he got his Ph.D. in anthropology and zooarchaeology back in the Cretaceous. Then he did a master's also in zooarchaeology, and then, actually a Ph.D. was in and master's in zooarchaeology. So that was at Tennessee, University of Tennessee, did his bachelor out at Washington State, also under the anthropology realm. So he has some adjunct and research associate positions, so like the Carnegie and Smithsonian. And a lot of what he'll have been doing, working with colleagues, is studying what we call the evolutionary history of these freshwater bivalves. And by that, what I mean is, like, think of a big family tree. Because there's a lot of species out there, and part of what we're interested in is how they're all related, and part of what we're interested in is what they are. There are a number of these things whose names we don't really have a name for them yet, or exactly what they are. And these are things that are in our fresh water, doing a big biological service by filtering water and trying to do conservation on things that you don't even know about is pretty tricky. So working with colleagues locally, for example, with the Wildlife Commission or over at the universities or some international work, they're piecing together a lot of the story behind, again, what are the relationships of these many species? What are some of the names? They're still naming species, and then trying to figure out the ecology of some of these things. So much of which we don't know, but which we depend on really for clean water. They are the original water treatment plant. So that's a big work, is just with the bivalves. And then as a research curator, all of us now, we've got these orphan collections sent to us as universities don't want their collections anymore. Other places that might have a private collection will send them to us, and we're asked to take them on. It can be just tens of thousands of specimens. Jeff does this too. The bird unit has received 5 or 6 of these orphan collections in the last 12 years. It's quite a burden, and we have to curate them, stabilize them. Art and his assistant Jamie received a big one years ago. They're still working on it. That was what, 25 years ago? And they're still working on doing the curation. It was a huge, they've received several huge collections. So that's the other thing that he does. He's worked on field guides to freshwater mollusks. I'm sure we all have a copy, right? It's not like bird watching, but it is interesting to put these things together, and does workshops for people, training on how to identify things, because when other biologists are out doing work on the rivers and creeks, that most people don't know what these things are. So that people like Art and his colleagues who have to help identify things. So with that, I'm going to introduce Art Bogan, and I'm going to hopefully get out of this screen and get on with his. Let's see, where is? You know, I don't know why it's not coming up. Well, hang on a sec. Still not playing. I can't get out of this thing. I'm just going to hit escape. Oh yeah, sweet. There we go. I want to see if this one will close. I want to close this. I'll start it up again. Where is your proof? Down here? It's got to be down there. No, I opened it up, and I'm not seeing. It's right here. What I'm not seeing is it doesn't come up when I go under share. Really curious. I'll try again. Sorry about that.
You drag your cursor down on the right side.
Yeah. There it is. Thank you. All right. All right. Welcome, Mark.
Good evening. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for the invitation to come talk about second most diverse phylum of animals on the planet. And like anytime somebody asks a simple question, you start looking at it and it grows and it grows. So it's, I've trimmed this down. I will try to be brief. There is structure to the animals I'm going to cover. It'll be freshwater, land, and marine. Focus primarily on North Carolina. If we got into all of it, we could easily be here 3 hours. I have to say that it's a joint presentation. My collection manager, Jamie Smith, is a great whiz in developing PowerPoint presentations. So between the two of us, I take responsibility for it, but she's been a driving force for it. First thing is invasive species, non-native or alien versus invasive. If it doesn't live here and it's brought in, it's an alien species. It's not native to this area. Invasive are things that take over like starlings. And how are they getting here? Whether it's coming in baggage, as you can see, the giant African snail people bring in for all sorts of crazy reasons. Food, their slime apparently is helpful to women's facial health. And then some people come in the aquarium trade. We'll talk about this more. And they come from all over the world. That you see the column of mollusks, and that's 84 to 2000. There's 11,000 occurrences. So with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, they have a lot of specialists working that each have their own specialty. One that is not yet introduced, it's in the aquarium trade. I bought two in Wake Forest in an aquarium shop. Unlike most snails, which are herbivorous, this is the assassin snail. It's carnivorous. And it comes from Thailand. And as like with most snails, there's a real problem with taxonomy. What is it? You have four things that all look alike, come from the same area, but are different. The problem is that this thing is, the sexes are separate. So you have to have two for a population. But a woman had some in an aquarium on her back porch in Seattle that overwintered. So if it's released into the environment throughout most of the United States, it has a good chance. It eats other snails, other invertebrates. I was talking about apple snails. Again, we have Florida has the Florida apple snail, which is a native. And the giant apple snail has been introduced. And the taxonomy of it's typically from South America, multiple names, and it's a confusion of which one is whom. And I'm not going to read to you tonight. If you're interested, you can read it. Otherwise, I'll move on. Really unique shells, large, fairly thin shelled, very distinctive. You can trip over them. And as John showed, have egg masses laid on firm structures above the water, where there's cattails, bridge abutments, posts that's usually a foot or more above the water line. And different species appear to have different shapes, different sizes, different color egg masses. And they change color with development from a freshly laid egg mass to a one that's ready to hatch. Now, let's see. Female laying eggs. Apparently, they contain a certain toxin, so they're really nasty to eat. The eggs are. So the giant apple snail has been introduced, and you see a arrow to the Lumber River here in southeastern North Carolina. The thing I want to preface is that people bring these things in to eat. Just because mom didn't put it on the dinner table doesn't mean it's not good to eat. With a wine sauce, apple snails can be very good. And as with mystery snails and a lot of other things. So if you can put garlic butter on it or any other spices, is potentially food. Depends on how hungry you are and what your cultural heritage is. Another one in the aquarium trade that has been introduced is red rim Melania. And it's native to Southeast Asia, introduced in the United States. And again, it's in the lower Cape Fear. Again, recently the questions have been raised about how many species are there? They're known to be intermediate hosts for like 15 nasty little trematode worms. So people go, oh, you can eat those. Well, you know, you can eat a lot of things, but if you do, there may be potential consequences. And since these are parthenogenic, females reproduce by themselves, lay eggs. So in the aquarium trade, if you have one, all of a sudden you have an aquarium full. Pretty snails brought up the question of mystery snails. These are live-bearing snails imported from China. And there's discussion about, we'll show you a picture in a minute of the Japanese mystery snails. And one is taller and slender. The apex is sharper, whereas the other one is shorter, rounder, fatter. And we apparently have them in like Jordan Lake. I talked to one of the Wildlife Commission officers. She had stopped one group that had several tow sacks, over 300 pounds of these, ready to haul away as food. Well, the Wildlife Commission kind of frowns on that you're not supposed to be eating those things. Well, in Asia, they're eaten regularly. They're in the rice paddies, they're in the rivers, so it's a good protein source. Spit out the operculum, and with a wine sauce, they're pretty tasty. Widespread. There's confusion over now as genetics is being done between the Chinese and Japanese mystery snails. They're two different species, but is the shell shape always consistent? And that's turning out to be a little bit more difficult. But again, they'll get up to probably a little over 2 inches. You'll see them dead shells on the shore, Lake Jordan. Widely distributed in the United States, whether they come in the aquarium trade or brought in as food items. You know, apparently some people import them from Asia, or you can go out on the web and say, okay, I want to buy certain mystery snails. The problem with common names of these things is that certain color forms of some of the apple snails are also referred to as mystery snails. So you have to be very careful of two different families. Apple snails are in one family. Mystery snails, or Cypangopaludina, are in the viviparids. They give birth to live corallaway young. Each one of these animals, we could spend 20 minutes talking about the biology, historic distribution. Clams. Everybody that's been out on the water somewhere has seen this thing called corbicula or basket shells. They were originally brought in apparently into California as food items. With spice, they're a chewy, tasty little morsel. And in the last couple of years, we thought we had one species, widespread, but as more work is being done, it's probably 2 species at least, if not 3. Different shell morphology, different nacre color. What do we know about the biology? Basically, very little. Unlike the native freshwater mussels that have an obligate parasitic larval stage on the gills or fins of fish, these have direct development. And when they begin life as a juvenile clam and carry on. Up to 10 meters deep water. What do? They outcompete the native mussels. Their filtration rate is much higher. and habitat modification. There's some places that the dead shells of Corbicula may be 7 to 10 inches deep. So all of a sudden, you're really transforming the bottom development. Bird. John had to make sure that there was birds in here. And it happens to be a limpkin, but no, it's not Missy's picture. As you can see from the list, a lot of things eat them. And since John mentioned the limpkin, we also found out just recently, there was a paper in the Journal of the Arkansas Academy. Can't talk. Arkansas, the Journal of the Arkansas Academy of Sciences, of limpkins punching holes in certain species of freshwater mussels in Arkansas, further extending their range of documentation, also extending their food habits. Some of the catfish that have been caught, their stomachs are absolutely crammed with Corbicula. We had a picture of a blue catfish that came in, and the stomach couldn't be any larger. It was completely stuffed. So they are providing an alternative food as the environments change. Land snails. Most people don't really give these a whole lot of thought. You see them in the garden from time to time, and they seem to be just chewing on algae on your garbage can, or you see them on the wall, or after a rain, you'll see slugs and snails out on the sidewalk. But talking about North Carolina, well, to put the whole thing in perspective, North Carolina has over 1,300 species of mollusks, over 1,000 species of marine mollusks, and currently estimated about 230 species of native land snails. Well, there's 3 species of native land snails that are carnivores. And one of them lives here in Raleigh. You find it when you're gardening, you disturb leaf litter, and it's there, this little white shell. But why would you bring snails in? Again, it goes back to food. Friend just gave me a book on non-marine mollusks as food in India. They use 41 species as food items throughout India. Snails, bivalves, and you see them in all the markets across. You go across Asia, they're a common item in the markets. They end up in cut flowers. They end up on shipments of lumber, on stone products coming in. So anytime you move something, you may be moving snails and slugs. Now, I'm not sure you understand that slugs are snails. They just have either lost their shell or is greatly reduced. They're all snails. So gastropods. They're fun. And the western part of the state has a very high diversity of native species. And why are they brought in? Food, that's cultural, pets, biological control. If you can think of a reason why you want one as a pet, I'll admit I kept a banana slug from Washington State for 9 months as a pet. Yellow and about 6 inches long. Great, peaceful, quiet. They come in on all sites of plants and animals coming in, being confiscated. And here in North Carolina, we have, along the coast, there are 2 species that are real common, invasives, the 2 across the top. The one on the lower right is imported from Southern Europe, and it's common on Oak Island down there. These are things you see in your garden, you see on the garbage can at night, or you see on the siding of your house after there's a little algae growing on the siding. And there are these little tracks. I've had some people go, what causes those tracks? I don't see anything. Slugs or snails. And Some of them can be fairly large, and they do carry parasites. And the one that I found most exciting is when Jamie says, "Oh yeah, we've got the leatherback slugs." They have the mantle completely covering the entire animal, with the antennae peeking out on the anterior, on the head end, and the whole family basically looks like that. And we just found out that they have been reported from Wilmington. They're an intermediate host for a parasite that causes angiostrongylitis, and it's been introduced into the St. Augustine area, and in very short order became very, very common. The leopard slug is real common. That's probably the slug that you most commonly encounter. They're nocturnal. They have black spots on a kind of a brownish gray background, and sexes are separate. And if you visited the museum, there's slug sex going on in the exhibit. The picture on the far right is of two slugs intertwined, exchanging samples, and then they'll lay the eggs. This is in one of the exhibits, Cindy, on the third floor. Look for it. I had never seen it, and she came home one day and said, "Hey, have you seen the slugs having sex on the floor?" No, it's there. You just have to look for it. It's introduced from Europe, and it's oddly enough, we were having a discussion about the history of the name. It was described by Linnaeus in 1758. It's a widespread slug in Europe, and it's been introduced since, 1867 here in the United States. So some of these have been here a long time, longer than most people's perception. So they go, "Oh, well, it's native." No, it's still an alien species. And is it invasive? Is it eating your plants? Is it carrying pests such as trematodes or other animals that are harmful to human health? You've heard of rat lungworm disease, especially in Hawaii. People get it from eating unwashed lettuce. The whole role of medical malacology is a huge field. That snails are intermediate hosts for a lot of really nasty parasites. Schistosomiasis in Southeast Asia, and Bilhart's here, the same thing as schistosome, and in Africa. So every time you turn around, there is an impact to your health. Also, one of the parasites has an intermediate host on our native land snails that causes one of the disease in elk and deer, native species. So all you have to do is start asking questions, and it's a field out there of rabbit holes. You can spend your life bouncing from rabbit hole to trying to answer questions. A lot of times you won't get an answer. So people tonight at dinner mentioned zebra mussels. Everybody's heard of zebra mussels and the effect on the Great Lakes. They were introduced from the Black Caspian and Sea of Azov in Eastern Europe, came in ballast water. And one of the first things that comes to mind, you go, "Oh, those are the same as blue mussels that we eat." No. These only live in freshwater. Blue mussels are restricted to brackish to marine. They do have the same chitinous threads that they attach themselves to substrate with. And I regularly get questions from the Wildlife Commission going, "Do we have zebra mussels?" And they'll send me a sample. especially from the mouths of rivers or brackish, slightly brackish areas in the mouths of rivers. We have a native dark false mussel, similar to, but different than this. And then one day, one of the Wildlife Commission biologists came in and said, hey, we got mossballs. Well, mossballs. The species name Polymorpha. It has a whole variety of shapes, a very plastic shape. It's a bivalve, soft body. Mossballs in 2021 came in being sold in the aquarium trade. And if you look very carefully, there were small zebra mussels in there. There was also another introduced freshwater snail. Apparently these things were being grown in the Ukraine and shipped to the United States. Well, from about 1700 on, zebra mussels began to spread across the river systems and canal systems of Europe. And then they came to the United States into Lake St. Clair, Lake Erie, in Western Lake Erie, reaching densities of 700,000 animals per square meter. Some places 10 centimeters deep, alive. And people kept asking me, are these zebra mussels? Are these zebra mussels? Fortunately, I said, no, we don't have zebra mussels in North Carolina. One day, the biologist from the Wildlife Commission comes in and goes, is this a zebra mussel? And it was about 1.5 inches long. And I went, oh my. They had been introduced into a rock quarry in the central part of the state. So now, yes, we do have zebra mussels introduced into the United States, into North Carolina, but apparently the Wildlife Commission is trying to eradicate it because it's a self-contained situation. But if you wait long enough, these things are going to continue showing up. And since they attach to anything with a firm substrate, whether it's dragonfly larvae, crayfish, turtles, there was a Volkswagen pulled out of one of the lakes, and there was a news clipping that showed a woman's bra absolutely covered in zebra mussels. So nothing is off limits. Boat trailers. The problem is that you put your boat in infected water, they settle, you take it out, they can survive in fairly high humidity, low temperatures for a while. You go and plop it in another lake or another river. So these things are spreading across the United States. And once they're there, it's not really sure that you can actually ever eradicate them. Okay, marine. Everybody knows what a shipworm is? It's a little bivalve that bores in wood. And historically, anybody that's putting in pilings, wharfs, wooden ships, this was a real problem because they have on the, on the top end here is the shell. It's used for rasping the wood, and they digest the cellulose with the enzyme cellulase as food, and they continue to grow. So if you have a huge infestation of them, they're going to cause a major weakening of your structure. And as the decline in wooden ships has decreased, things have gotten a little bit better. And they've been a pain for anybody in the marine environment. And especially here in the Western Atlantic, up in the Baltics, and the Eastern Mediterranean. So shipworms are a fairly diverse group of bivalves. And it's the big one, this one, the naval shipworm. It also occurs here in North Carolina, but is also a major invasive pest. There's a good example of the picture up in the upper right of a well-infested piece of wood of all of the shipworms. But with changing to steel plates and chemically treated woods, it's becoming less and less of a problem. Green mussel. We keep going back to food. People like green mussels and other things in the family Mytillidae, the blue mussels that we eat, whether it's from the Mediterranean or from the Atlantic coast, you know, with a little garlic butter, they're really great. But these are invasive, and they have free living larval stage. They find a hard substrate attached to it with their byssal threads, because there's a gland in the foot. Zebra mussels have it. Some freshwater unionid bivalves have it, and mussels have it. Gland that produces these chitinous threads and with cement that attach to any hard surface. And as luck would have it, it's expanded here into North Carolina, and it's played havoc where it's been introduced into southern South America, Argentina especially. And there you can see the byssal threads that I was talking about in the right-hand side. Why be concerned about them? They're pretty, and you know, if they're under right conditions, they can be eaten. But they produce biotoxins, accumulate toxins, and they can cover the environment. They produce a paralytic shellfish poisoning. So again, back to medical malacology. The role of mollusks and their intermediate hosts that they host on both human health and other animals. There's an example of why we should be concerned about green mussels. They basically overgrow or over cement everything in the marine environment, rapidly growing and taking over the oyster beds in Florida. Take a breath. That's a lot of mollusks for one night, especially for birding. But the thing that I want to point out is that, you know, where birders have starlings and other parrots, the other introduced birds, that some of them are just noisy neighbors, others are just taking over the world. In mollusks, it's more insidious. You bring home a plant that came from New Zealand and you don't notice, but it has a little slug in it. Well, it also might have a little parasite, a little flatworm that eats earthworms. So importing plants, animals, products from other countries, unless they're carefully screened, is a potential source of all sorts of discomfort, illness, aggravation, and is also harmful. God, it must be Monday. Harmful to our native fauna and flora. Thank you. Any questions? You don't want to see me. I'm innocent. Yes. Yes. If you're in Europe, it's with a C. If it's United States, it's a K. But if it's molluscan, it's spelled with a C. The phylum is Mollusca with a C. I think it's just the difference between British English and American English. And you look at journals and you're reviewing a paper for a journal and you don't know who the author is, but you look at it and you go mollusk, M-L-O-C, L-S-C, and you go, okay, it's European. Or somebody speaking European English. So it's common question, yes.
Or we want to see, yeah, usually see them. you have any questions in the chat. I don't see any right there yet.
Okay.
Any questions online, you can put them in the chat. We're looking at the chat now, or Sid can holler out.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you know? What's the best way to destroy them? Or is there?
Wash it. But don't touch it, don't put your fingers in your mouth. Move it from the pressure spread across the mouth. Like that. The only place we've seen them so far is in the Lumber River. The problem was we had the Wildlife Commission sent us a stomach content from an alligator that had been poked, but they didn't know where it was from. And it had 23 operculum on the giant apple. So it may be, there may be more of them here than we're aware of. But the first ones, my collection manager and one of our technicians were down on the Lumber River and collected a whole series of them.
Are we supposed to report finding them?
Anytime you come across something odd like that, contact the Wildlife Commission. Yes, please. They're always interested in that. If you happen to be out and you see a show like an apple snail like that, you can always bring it into us. I'm always happy to look at new snails. We don't have a workbook on the freshwater snails in North Carolina. We have one for the freshwater bivalves, the unionted bivalves, the big bivalves. We have fingernail clams, which probably 15, 20 species, but they're a nightmare. So, we're aware they're out there, but nobody in North America is currently working on their taxonomy, so it makes it much more difficult. I've been rudely informed that there's only 24 hours in a day, and a certain amount of it has to be spent sleeping. So, but it's fun. There's always new things to learn, new questions. People send reports in. You get asked to review a paper like the Limpkin and freshwater mussels out in Arkansas, and just stuff out of left field.
There's folks online. I gotta keep it close by. I haven't seen a question yet, but if they ask here, just keep talking to the mic here.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yep, Jeff's got one.
Something called American acclimatization.
Oh, yeah. It was on your slide.
I know, I saw it too. I have to blame Jamie on that because I had never come across that before and I hadn't had a chance to check that. That's possible because a lot of people for political, religious, or other beliefs think that all it's doing is increasing our diversity. So I'm having trouble just identifying the native things and recognize when some species are introduced or.
Okay, there you go. There was a slide that had a reference to the American Acclimatization Society, and Art's assistant put that in. We're not sure what it was, but here it
In
is.
1871, dedicated to introducing European flora and fauna to North America for both economic and cultural reasons.
Wow.
Acclimatization impacted the natural history of North America, particularly due to success in introducing invasive bird species.
No. The Cruise Charter, the goal is to introduce foreign varieties, just like you were saying.
Starlings.
Yeah. Well,
So it's your fault.
it is. Not good. Wow.
But you learn something new every day.
Wow.
And I keep pressing people that don't hesitate if you have a question, ask. It's not a stupid question until it's the 17th time I've answered the question and I get a little irritated. But otherwise, if there's something you don't understand, ask. That's one of the roles that people here at the museum are supposed to be filling. Yes, ma'am.
To help the situation of invasive species, is there anything being
The Endangered Species Act partially, other conservation efforts of limiting the introduced species, invasive species, trying to, in the Great Lakes, control of ballast water exchange, because a tremendous number of other animals besides mollusks are being introduced into the Great Lakes on a regular basis. So it's more becoming aware of what's in the environment and what you're doing to the environment. So whether it's Sierra Club or any of the other conservation-oriented societies, everybody trying to do their part. Yes, sir.
I don't know where the boat came from. We use like basically outboard water,
Mm-hmm.
but on zebra mussel.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to be done. There was recent work done on poisoning a stretch of the Snake River in Idaho. Killed a lot of sturgeon, a lot of fish, but they're not sure they eradicated the zebra mussel. Oh, one of the things I omitted from the discussion tonight is the zebra mussel isn't the only one in that group that's been introduced into North America. There's the quagga mussel, and it's been spreading into deeper water and spreading throughout the West. And it looks similar to, but different. And we don't have it in North Carolina, so I figured I won't talk about it. And it's like the mystery snails. There was a new one found that was introduced into northern New York. So as more you start looking at what's in the neighboring states, what's happening to the United States, you online look in the aquarium trade of what is being offered for sale in freshwater aquaria. It's scary. And I understand shell collectors really enjoy these things, but then Johnny gets one for his aquarium and he gets tired of it and he takes it out and dumps the whole thing in the creek. Whether it's introduced crayfish, mussels, snails. Then we haven't even gotten into the whole world of parasites. And a lot of these things, we don't know what their parasites are. Like with the red rim melania, a friend in northern Alabama has been working on them. She's described, I think, has recognized 15 different trematode worms that are intermediate, that the red rim melania is the intermediate host for. Then a paper comes out and says, oh, by the way, the red rim melania is a species complex. So now with, the more refined genomic data becomes and more widely used, we're getting a better, maybe, understanding of how species relate. And what we've in the past thought was a species, may in fact be a whole complex of species with more locally endemic species. We've had two new species in a new genus described here in North Carolina in the last 2 years of native freshwater mussels. So yeah, it's a moving target, but it keeps you off the street and out of the bars at night. Other questions? Yes. Mating? Yes.
They eat other stuff, they're predatory, so they don't actually have that supposedly.
A lot of people get upset because they eat you feed your dog outside, they get in the dog food dish and eat the dog food. But most of the slugs are going to be are herbivores. There is one slug that's introduced that has a little, instead of having the shell up on the back, is right down, way down on the tail. It's introduced from Europe. That eats other snails and slugs, but that's one, it's rare, and two, I'm not sure how many other slugs actually eat other snails. I don't know. Yeah. They can follow other slugs, I know, by their slime trails. But this is one of the things that John and I were talking about over dinner, was that working with the Wildlife Service, Wildlife Commission, talking about conservation of freshwater, of mollusks in North Carolina, is they kept asking for more and more data. I say, a lot of these species, we can tell you, yes, here's where we know it occurs. We haven't looked over there for it. We don't know if it's really rare or it just hasn't been seen. We could probably put a name on it. Well, what about the biology? What elevation does it live in? Well, we found it only above 3,000 feet. What's it eating? We don't know. How many eggs does it lay? We don't know. When does it lay eggs? We don't know. Basic biology for most of these species, we have zero information. It's 1935 to 1946, Henry Pillsbury wrote a book on land snails in North America. Huge, 4-volume set. He says, well, it's all done. No, that's an introduction. That's the first set of questions. And now with the new toys and techniques we have today, you got a lot more work to do. So it's a constant changing landscape. Conservation relies on taxonomists, and nobody wants to pay a taxonomist. You put names on snails? Come on now. That's like shell collecting. Oh, that was one of the things I forgot to mention. We just a year ago, May 2024, published a new revised edition of the Seashells of North Carolina. Hugh Porter came out with it in the 70s, and we've been constantly updated. The University of North Carolina Press just published a much enlarged version. And if you're going, well, how do I identify them? Doug Wolf, one of the co-authors, came up with a key. You can tell the difference between a rectangle, a circle, and a triangle. You can identify it to family by shell shape. So there are getting to be more and more keys and information out there, but there's still a tremendous amount to be learned. That's why I'm still working. Any other questions? Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, for those of us here, we'll go in the back, we'll have our usual refreshments, and so next month, we've been working on, we had a speaker who moved out of state. We went ahead and kept him on to try to get him to give a program through the museum's YouTube channel. So we're booking him now for October 18th. That's the plan. When he and his wife moved, no surprise, they ran into some challenges moving from here to Montana. And so I think they're still settling in. So I think he'll be ready by October 18th. Just if you're interested, he's a great photographer. It's where he and Missy have had a lot of connection over the years. Their love of photography and documenting the natural world. Mike Dunn is the program person. He worked here for many years. He's a naturalist educator. He worked for state parks for a number of years as one of the naturalist educators, a great naturalist. If you're bored ever late at night, go to Roads End Naturalist and read up all his stuff that he still shares with the world at large, with his photography and some of his writing. It's great stuff. So we wanted to keep him on, even though he moved. We have the big theater downstairs, a 3-story Daily Planet theater. So he would go on about 1 o'clock. Missy, is that the plan? Yeah, he calls it Invasion of the Body Snatcher. So it's October. We like something spooky. And So it's a lot of interesting things. It might even feature, so who knows, a crazy mussel or the things that get inside of mussels. There's this whole life cycle that goes on with fish and mussels and other parasites and things. I don't know what Mike will have, but it will be something creepy, I'm sure, and spooky and all that. There's some cool stuff with fungi that get in your brain, and stuff like that. I'm sure he's found some and photographed them. So anyway, if you're up for it, do come down. So it's Saturday, midday, and middle of beautiful October. If there's any kind of problem with it, we will improvise. We will come up with something. We will overcome. And so anyway, I hope to then see some of you down here in a month. Then we'll be back here in November to talk about what fits the theme is turkeys. So we'll talk about, if you have a recipe, maybe you want to share that with us. So I have been, you saw one? Good for you. A turkey was seen yesterday. Where was it? Ah, near the airport. How about that? One of our members reports she saw a turkey near the airport. All right. Excellent. Well, okay, so yeah, so we'll be back at least by November to talk turkey. Maybe we'll have some turkey snacks. No. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you next